Hi, I'm Martin, and welcome to the Loading Screen Pro overview video. Loading Screen Pro is a simple asset that allows you to quickly and easily implement a loading screen into your Unity game. It's based on a script I released for free a while back that a lot of people enjoyed and that they found very helpful, and I always wanted to expand on it, and that is where this asset comes into play. It has a bunch of additional features, it's really easy to implement, and I'm going to go over the different components and how it's put together in a moment. You can also, if you don't want to buy the asset, you can find the free script over here. And also, a point of note, the asset also contains the Progress Bar Pro script for free, which is also in this video explained, so you can take a look at that as well. So that said, let's get started. So at the heart of the loading screen is the Loading Screen Pro script and Loading Screen Config. These together with the loading scene are pretty much everything you need to get the asset included. So let's talk about the loading scene first. So the loading scene is what's being displayed while you're loading another scene. This is basically a loading screen. This is where you have a progress bar, where you have text, game tips, information about the screen that's being loaded, maybe a preview image, that kind of thing. So let's look at some of the one of the included scenes, which is in this case the loading scene 0, which you can find in the loading screen folder and then in scenes. This is a very, let's say, ugly screen. It's just so it includes all the features the loading screen has, so you can have a baseline from which you can build your own visuals. So this scene includes the script on a separate object that's called the Loading Screen Pro. You can see the script in detail. There's timing settings, a bunch of scene info and game tips. Scene info uses the scene that's being loaded to generate some sort of information and display that, which could be a header or a title, a description, or an image. And then there's the game tips, which is a random tip that's displayed when you load, which has a header and a description. There's some settings for fading, so when the screen is starting, it's fading from black on to black currently, always taking a second each for the fade. And then there's loading visuals, which is basically just for the progress of loading. There's a bar being linked, there's a string that displays the number. You can either use the Progress Bar Pro to display the bar and have it show the progress of the loading, or you can use a filled image and a basic simple text, which are these options here. Which is why the screen has two bars, so you can see how they behave differently and can decide which one you want to use for yours. And then there's the confirmation visuals, which is just a canvas group that are displayed when the loading is done. There's one tiny thing in here, behavior after load, which is either wait for player input or continue automatically, and then with an optional delay. Currently it waits for play input, so once it's done loading, the player can press any key to start the next scene. So that's the Loading Screen Pro itself. You will notice that up in the script there's a config link to, which is within the PS Loading Screen folder directly. It's a scriptable object called Loading Screen Config, which basically defines a bunch of things that are used by the screen. Up here is loading behavior. You can load additively and you can change the priority. These are basic Unity settings that are applied to the loading of the scene. You can read more upon these in the Unity documentation. Then there's scene infos and game tips, which I've mentioned before. Scene infos are basically you add the name of every scene, you add an image name, a header, and a description. Image name refers to a subfolder and resource called screen previews, and the name of that image needs to correspond to the name that's here. So scene 0 and scene 1 will load these images respectively. Then there's scene 0 and scene 1 scene name is actually the actual name of the files, which in this case are test scene 0 and test scene 1. There's a header that's being displayed and a description that can be displayed. And then the tips, the game tips, just a set of random tips, which a header and description. You can have as many as you want, and when the loading screen is loaded, it's going to pick one of them and display it. So that's how a loading screen is put together. All of the visuals are UI elements, so if you open this up, you can see there's a canvas, there's a background, there's a game tip, which has a text component for the header and the description. The scene info has an image, and just text and a description, and the loading visuals have the simple progress, which is just a fillable image, and the progress text, and the Progress Bar Pro has a Progress Bar Pro script and a bunch of things that the Progress Bar Pro actually uses. As said, you can find out more about the Progress Bar Pro and how it's actually put together in its relevant video. So that's basically how to put together a scene. As said, the best way to go about this is get loading scene 0 and then style it so it has everything you want in the place you want. You can also use one of the other scenes that are included. Let me just... this one, for example, with the white background, actually puts the image of the loaded scene in here, has the circular loading bar in front. This one, I'm actually going to show you these in a second, actually by playing the thing. Alright, let's load test scene 0. Yeah, it's loading. I've inflated these scenes with massive, lots of cubes, so it increases the loading time. So let's play. So now you can see in here I can actually select the loading screen, so I can show loading scene 1. Now you can see that's the image actually in the background, and now it's loading, and we're done. I can load back, and I should get the different preview image for scene 0. Also getting random tips. This one doesn't have a preview image, so it has just the default image. Alright, and that's pretty much how you put together a scene, and then how it looks when you use it. So how do you actually use the loading screen? It's pretty simple. Usually when you want to load a scene, there's the scene manager load scene command, and what you need to do is simply replace it with the loading scene pro command. It's very simple. Let's go into the script. I'm going to increase text size here. Wait, now it's in the load screen pro base, because yes, there we go. And it's called load scene. So if you use this command, which is a static command, anywhere in your game, it will load the loading scene and then load the level you actually want from there. You can either start the scene with the level number, or you can start with the level name. So you can do either or. Names are generally safer, because if you change your build settings, it will still load if you have the number, and you change your build settings and add a scene somewhere. Your number may change and then things may break. So I generally recommend using level, but you don't have to. Okay, so to give you a quick example how this is used, in here I have these buttons. Each of these buttons has a script that's called the loading scene button script, which is in example scripts. And in here, when the button is clicked, it sets the loading scene, which is something I do so I can have a different loading scene each time, so don't worry about this. But here it loads the target screen, which it does by loading screen pro, the load scene, and then the target scene name, which in this case is scene 0, or depending on the button, it can be something else. Test scene 1, test scene 1. So each scene, test scene 1 loads test scene 0, and test scene 0 loads test scene 1. So, and that's pretty much it. I hope that answered some question and gave you an idea of what the script can do. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know or post in the thread on the Unity forums. You can also find me on Twitter at narrowcar, which is terrible to pronounce, but I'll put it in the description below. Alright, that's it. Thanks.